Hello. Hello. A very good morning to all. I think for the past few months, we have all been experiencing our summer habitat, and now it's time to be reactivated. So I'm here to conduct a pre-placement training session, brushing session on the subject C++. So we will be dealing with the programming language C++. So this is going to be a teaching and learning process. So to make this more effective and fruitful, where teaching and learning will yield some benefits in the student, you also need to take care, and you have to have a few things in your mind. First thing that I expect from you is this. So by this symbol, what I mean is you should raise your hand and you should be continuously asking the doubts and queries about the topic that we are discussing. So it is always welcome that students are involved and they are asking the questions. I will try my level best to answer all your queries in time, right? The second requirement that you need to fulfill is this, that sometimes I may throw a question, I may ask a question during my session, and you are expected to give the answers immediately on the YouTube chat box or comment box. So we will be monitoring the answers given by the student. This is a reflective point by which I will come to know that yes, the point I mean to say is very well clear and accepted by you. This is the second requirement. You should be always alert and should be answering my questions whenever I am asking them during my session. Then the third requirement is after the session, you should refer some textbooks or reference books or websites or online resources, whatever is available to you, in order to reinforce learning, in order to reinforce the knowledge that you have acquired during this session, so that it will remain permanently. This is absolutely necessary. Just take the consent of Amit. Amit, uh, is it now on?
Yes, sir.
Amit?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So I will. Okay. I think the connection has gone in between. I will just share my screen. Okay. Okay. I will again resume. Sorry for the interruption. This is because of some technical problems, so we have to bear with anyway. So I already told you the requirements that you need to fulfill. That you should be asking questions. You should be answering questions that are asking during this session. After this session, you should go to the reference book, textbooks, or online resources and reinforce the learning. And of course, you should practice whatever programs that we will do in this session. Similar kind of programs you do at your home by having the software that is Turbo C++. Okay, so to get this software on the net, I think I should give you idea from where we can have it. Just a moment. So I will just go to the internet. You can see on Google, I typed for Turbo C++ with the DOSBox for Windows 10. So 64-bit. If you do this search on Google, what you will find is this page open. So don't go for this first thing because it is archive. That software is removed from here. But you can go into the second website, that is download Turbo C++ for Windows 7, 8, 8.1. So if I just click on it, it will take you to the website, and there you will get the option of yes, like download Turbo C++ for Windows, and you will get the option of downloading Turbo C++ 3.2 from here. So after you download, it's very easy to install. This kind of window you will get after installing. So you can start Turbo C++, and then of course you will get this very famous blue background window, editor's window of Turbo C++ IDE, and where we can write our program. So I will be using this IDE throughout my session. So it is better that you all should keep this software ready on your laptop now, because I want whatever programs I am writing over here during my session, you all should follow. That means you should simultaneously type them at your end, and you should check the output along with me, so that the ideas will be more clear to you. I know the students attending this particular session are from many different branches. There are students from medical, electronics and telecommunication, IT and computer engineering. Some of you might have already learned C++ during your 12th standard, that is a vocational subject, computer science. But now you are in B, and 3 years already passed out, and you need to again recollect whatever you have learned over there. But of course, at that point of time, more emphasis is not given on the many object-oriented concepts. So it is better to again relearn them. So those who are already good in C++, please excuse me, because you may feel that these are unnecessary repetitions and wasting of time, but it is not like that, because there are many students who really need to understand the basic concept very well. So I will be taking time, I will be going very slow at your pace, and your feedback is really important for me. You should keep talking, and you should start giving suggestions that yes, this point you have gone very fast, you should have gone really slow, or repeat this particular point so that I am able to do it. What I want is out of this is you should really get something very useful, very fruitful for you, and which you can use during your interviews in the placement sessions, so that you will get a good job. This is what is my expectation, and of course, same should be of yours. So you should be attentive, you should be very proactive and reflect. So let us begin with our discussions. So to start with the first important question, that what is C++? Of course, many of us knows that it is a programming language, but whenever you are asking the question, to a very technical person, you should be able to explain the things very clearly. That C++ is a general purpose programming language. It is case sensitive, where the uppercase and lowercase alphabet really makes a difference. Their meaning will change, like C. And then the next important is the free form programming language. Free form means there will not be any format restrictions while you are typing your commands or when you are completing your code. Like in a Python, there are formatting restrictions, this indentations and all the spacings and tabs are required. So these kind of restrictions are not there in the C++. And the beauty of C++ language is it is supporting both traditions, object-oriented as well as procedural and generic. Procedural and generic algorithm is normally used by C language on which the training session is already over, where the emphasis is given on the procedures, functions, operations, and less concern is given to the data. Whereas object-oriented, the things are exactly reverse. The more emphasis is given on the data, and procedures and the functions they are coming after them. So they wanted to give more stress, more focus on the data that we are handling, because that is really important and which is going to be processed and going to produce the result. Procedures are just the means to transform input data into the expected outcomes, right? So C++ is a general purpose case sensitive free form programming language that supports object oriented, procedural and general programming. I hope this definition is clear to all of you. Then second important characteristic of C++ language, it is a middle level language. Now, what do you mean by this middle level language? You might have up till now knowing that the languages can be divided into three levels. That is, or in fact, four levels, I can say. At the very bottom, close to the hardware, we will have a machine level language, which is nothing but what the instruction set, the programs written by using the instructions from the instruction set of a particular processor, which are very processor specific. Like I can write a program for 8085 processor. I can write a program for 8086 processor. The program or the instructions that I'm using on for the 8086 may not be working on 8085. So it is very specific to the processor or hardware. Then there comes assembly language program, because it is very difficult for me to remember the opcodes of all the instructions. I hope you all know the meaning of opcode. Opcode is operation code, which is a binary pattern equivalent to the instruction that we wanted to execute. For example, in 8085, if I wanted to write an instruction move immediate A, comma 11H, that is move data 11H immediately into accumulator, its opcode is 3E and 11H is that. So it is difficult for me to remember opcodes for all the instructions supported by the processor. So there comes assembly level language, where we need to write the instructions in form of mnemonics, and they can be translated into the machine level language by using assembler. Then we know there is a concept called as higher level languages, which are using English to frame the commands or the instructions. And there are many higher level languages, like we can have Java, we can have Python, and all that thing. C++ is also close to the higher level language, but at the same time, it also supports assembly language commands also. Therefore, it is mainly called as a middle level language. It encapsulates both high and low level language features. I hope this particular because is also clear to you. So it is object-oriented programming is a paradigm that provides many concepts such as inheritance, data binding, polymorphism, etc. You can see we have to go through the ladder which I have shown. That is, we have to learn what is object, what is class, inheritance, polymorphism, abstraction, encapsulation. So these terms are really very important terms whenever we are talking about object-oriented programming methodology. And we will try to touch each and every step in this ladder during our discussions. right? So let us move ahead, and we will quickly list out what are the advantages of OPM over the procedure oriented programming language. So I hope you up till now you might have understood that C language that you have learned up till now is a procedure oriented programming language where we have to write many functions. A program may consist of many functions, and the functions are handling data on their own way. But OPM is the object-oriented programming methodology, which can be implemented by using languages like C++, Java, Python. These all are object-oriented programming languages, and why they are popular and what advantage they gives me. So OPM, object-oriented programming methodology, makes the development and maintenance of our application easy. That is, when our application grows in size, the code grows in size, project size grows, then it is very difficult to handle and manage by using procedure-oriented concept, because it consists of a lot many functions, and it is very difficult to debug really which function is creating the problem, it is creating the bug. That is made easier when we do the same, when we implement the same project by using OPM. So development and maintenance is easier. That is the advantage that I'm getting because of OPM. Second advantage is very important, that we will get a feature called as data hiding. Like in procedure oriented programming, global data can be accessed from anywhere, anybody, any function can change the contents of that data, and then it is really difficult to track whether the changes are going according to the expectations or who is doing the mischief. In object oriented programming methodology, the access to data is restricted. It is very limited to only few things. Only few entities can have access to data, and the data is hidden from rest of the entities present in my program. So it will be very easy for me to track down that where actually the problem is, or who is handling the data in a wrong way, so that we can correct it. So data hiding is one of the important advantage that we'll get because of OPM. Then third advantage that I will get is the OPM provides us ability to simulate real world events. It is very close to the real world events. More effectively, we can implement them. Real world problems we can solve very effectively by using OPM. How, we will see. Okay, so I hope these are the three main advantages you should remember about the OPM. Of course, there are many more. I don't want to quote them all and waste time or make you bored by discussing these theoretical things at the beginning. So let us start our journey. So we will start our discussion by discussing what is object. So what comes to your mind when I say the word object? I don't mean the word object. This is not the meaning of object you wanted to learn. I object, Your Honor. No. Object is something, a real world entity. Means what? What do you what comes to your mind when I say it is real world entity? The examples are something like this. I can say R is an object. I can implement it as an object in my program. Or I can say the bird is an object. I can implement it as object in my program. Or even I can say simply a box is an object. So it can be any real world entity like car, bird, box, student, book, or bank account, or account holder, whatever you say. So these are real world entities, and we need to implement them through our C++ programming. So you can think of many other examples in your mind. If you want, you can keep on typing them in the comments that this is possibly, I guess, is an object. So keep on commenting that whatever you are feeling, whether this is object or not. So then, object is an entity that has state as well as behavior. So, what do you mean by state? The state of the object means the data that it consists of. The object can consist of data, and the behavior means functionality. That means what operations we can do on the data which is held by the object. So state means data and behavior means functionality. So object is an entity that has state and behavior. So this you should keep in your mind. Object is a random entity. That means it is something which will get created at random. So during execution of a program, we can create the object. How to do this, we will see in the following example. Then object is also known as instance of a class, or it is in simple words the variable of a type class. Like we can create a variable of basic data types, like I can say int x. So when I say what is x, x is a variable of type int. Similarly, object is a variable of type class, and class, what it is, we will see very soon. So you should remember object is nothing but what it's going to be a variable, like other normal variables that we were using in our program, like maybe x, y, a, b, sum, etc. We'll see how the object is a variable and how it is different than the generic data type variables. Very soon we will see this all also. All the members of the class can be accessed through object. So object is very important when I wanted to access the members of a class. Of course, we are not doing this class up till now. We will see that. But object is a interface. It is allowing me to access the members of a class. So this is introduction, theoretical introduction about the object. And in a program, we will see how to create object and how it does all these things for us. And of course, we will also see what is meaning of data, what is meaning of functionality, and then how it is instance or variable of a class. These all things I will explain while writing a program. Don't worry about it. But you should know these theoretical things, that if somebody asks you what do you mean by object, you should be able to tell that what is object by mentioning all these points, right? Then let us move on to the next concept, that is class. And when I say word class, I don't mean this, which you are now observing on your screen. That is a group of some students sitting inside a room, bored and totally uninterested in the discussions. So this is not the meaning of class to which I wanted to explain it over here. Rather, a class is nothing but a user-defined data type. So you might have already learned the data types in many languages like C or Python or maybe in Java. So data type can be of three different categories: generic or basic data types like int, float, double. Then user derived data type, which is group of basic data type variable like array, string. It is a array of characters. These are user derived data types. And of course you might have also learned the user defined data type in C. The structure, union, these are user defined data types. Similar to structure, a class is also a user defined data type, and that we can use in our program. So this is a very important point. You should know about a class, that it is a user defined data type. It works as an object creator. That means unless we do not have class, we cannot create object. It's simply a blueprint for creating object. That means, in fact, a class decides what the object will consist of when we create it during runtime of our program. So it works as object creator. For example, if I want to create class whose name is cube, of course the class will consist of data members and member functions. Then after creating this class cube, we can create different objects for this particular class. So we can have cuboids of different shapes, length, width, and depth. And these all will be considered as the object of class Q. How to do it, we will see through the example. Right. So up till now, you might have understood what is object, what is class, and now it's time to know how to implement it. But before I go to the implementation of the class, what I wanted to explain is a very important concept that is called as data abstraction in C++. Because many a times there is a question on this particular topic that what do we mean by data abstraction? So data abstraction is simply a process of providing only the essential details to the outside world and hiding the internal details. For example, many of you might be using car or might be using bike. When we purchase a car or when we purchase a bike, what information we have about it? Like when we use a car, we know there will be a steering wheel. When I rotate it clockwise, the car will turn right. When I rotate it anti-clockwise, the car will turn left. Then there will be ABC, accelerator, brake, and clutch. Whenever we wanted to change the gear, we have to press the clutch. When we want to stop the car, we have to press the brake. When we want to increase the speed, we have to press accelerator pedal. But what really goes on internally is not known to us. So that is all hidden from us. But still, we can make use of a car by knowing only some essential details like what happens when I use ABC, what happens when I use steering wheel. So this process is nothing but what? Simply data abstraction. That is process of providing only the essential details to the outside world and hiding the internal details. So I have given the example of a car, which is a real world example. In a program, also we need to do something similar type of a thing. That we will provide the details about only few members of a class to the outside world. So outside world can have access to only that few members, and we will hide the important things from the outside world which we wanted to keep secured. Okay, so how this can be achieved, we will see. So data abstraction can be achieved in two ways. The two ways to achieve the data abstraction is by using classes, abstraction by using classes, and abstraction by using header files. Now header files, again, it is coming back over here. I know you all are aware of the concept called as header files. Like we are having header file like stdio.h, we are having header file like mat.h. So you have to recall, do you remember what are the functions present in mat.h? Yes, you know there are functions like sqrt, pow, sin, cos, tan, etc. So how it provides abstraction? When I use a function called as, let's say, sqrt5, this function I'm using in my program, when I use it, the function will return me the value of square root of 5. But I don't know how it really calculates the square root of 5. The implementation of the process is hidden from me. But it doesn't mean it is useless for me. I can make use of the function sqrt to calculate square root of any number. That means that information, that details are known to me, that how to use sqrt to calculate the square root of a number. But how it calculates, it's hidden from me. Because sqrt is a predefined function which is present in the header file mat.h, whose the definition we will not be able to see, we will not be able to alter. This is something called as abstraction in header files. This we will not be interested in during this session because you already learned it. What I am interested in is abstraction using classes. How to do such kind of abstraction by using classes. So this is our point of discussion during this session. So in C++, there is a concept called as access specifiers. These access specifiers allows me to implement abstraction in my program. Mainly there are three access specifiers: public, private, and protected. But protected will be useful whenever we go to the concept called as inheritance. Till that time, we will stick with the access specifiers public. So public is an access specifier, and when the members are declared as public, that members can be accessible from anywhere in the program. So they are public members. They are accessible. They are not hidden at all. They are essential details, in fact, provided to outside world. So it is like providing information what happens when we use the wheel, driving wheel, when we use accelerator, when we use the brake pedal. So this is nothing but what public. It is the essential details which is given to the user, and these all essential details are required to be mentioned by using a specifier known as public. It's a keyword. Public is a keyword that I can use in C++. Right. Then there is another access specifier whose name is private. So private is also a keyword, and whenever we wanted to hide something from the outside world, that member we should declare as a private member inside the class. So private members are not accessible outside world. They can be accessible only through the member functions of the class. So I hope, if not all, but some part of whatever I am discussing, whatever I am explaining, is understood by you. And don't worry, these all things that we are discussing will be more clear to you when I write a program to implement these all concepts. But till that time, you should keep in your mind that there is a concept called as abstraction using classes. Then there are keywords like public, private, which I can use in my class to declare some members as public, to declare some members as the private members. And then what happens when I declare them as a private? They will be accessible only through the member functions of the class. So now it's a time to write a program, I think, and we will write and see this whole concept. But before that, I just wanted to give that idea that how actually the class looks like. So in C++, we can define a class by using the keyword class. You can see I'm using a keyword class, and then this rectangle that I have written over here is nothing but name of the class. The class will have opening curly bracket and closing curly bracket terminated with the semicolon. This is important. Those who knows Java, for them this is creating a problem. In Java, you need not have to end the class by using semicolon, but in C++ you have to end the class with a semicolon. And then you can see I have used a keyword private. Then colon is also a part of a syntax which indicates this is a start of a private section of a class. So whatever you write over here will be considered inside the private section of the class. Like I have declared two variables L and W of data type float. So this L and W are considered as a part of a private section. And then the moment I write another keyword public, automatically it is assumed or it is known that private section is over and now the public section has started after this colon. So in the public section, you can see I have given prototypes of two functions. So this type of syntax is basically known as prototype, where I am writing void as a return type. Input is the name of a function, and open close parenthesis end with semicolon. So this is the prototype of a function input. Then I have given prototype of another function A, and another like this. I can give the prototypes of as many functions as I want, or even I can define them inside the class. So whenever I wanted to visualize that what is the class is something which appears like this in my program. Now, when we write this type of a thing in our program, what really happens is I will get a container of something like this, where this container, this big box, is divided into two partitions, right? Then this partition, the upper partition, is mainly consisting a private section of the class, and you know the private in the private section we have declared variable L and W. L stands for length of rectangle and W stands for width of rectangle. And these two variables, L and W, are known as data members. So whatever variables you declare inside the class, no matter whether they are in private section or they are in public section, whatever variables you declare inside the class, they are known as data members of a class. Right now I have declared variables only in the private section, L and W. So L and W are called as data members of a class, which are present in the private section. Then this class also consists of second section, which is a public section, and you can see in the public section there are member functions, member function input, member function area. So whatever member functions you declare or define inside the class, again I will say inside the class, no matter whether in private or public section, whatever member functions you declare or define inside the class, they are known as member functions. So I hope the two terms are clear to you. What do you mean by data members and what do you mean by member functions? So data members are simply the variables that we declare inside the class, and member functions are the functions which we either declare or define inside the class. So this everything is present inside the class. Now, we can, in our program, we can have functions outside the class. And can you guess which function will be present outside the class in our program? You can write your answer in the comment section of YouTube. So which function do you think will be present outside the class? So you start typing your answers, you guess, or you just keep on writing whatever you are understanding that yes, this function is present outside the class. Yes, I think Sachin Patak has said main, which is correct. So main function is present outside the class. You should be giving me the answers. Is my audio is clear? If somebody types a comment on YouTube, I will come to know. Hello. Is my audio is clear? Okay. Okay, thanks, Gaurav. Okay, fine. So it is okay. Is the speed okay? The speed is okay? Okay, fine. Rishma, thank you. Nihar, audio is lagging. I think there is some network issue either at your end or somewhere. Otherwise, it will not lag. Okay, Nirav, thank you. Sachin, thank you. So we will continue. So so you guessed it right, that what do you mean by outside function? The main function. You have to define the main function outside the class. And now the main function, you know, whatever we do is normally we do inside main. So whatever operations we wanted to perform to give the or to complete the or to create the output, normally we do outside the class and it is inside the main. But the problem is this main function, which is a outside function, it can have access to only member functions which are present in the public section of a class. So from main, I can access a member function input. I can access a member function area. In turn, from member function, I can access data members of a class. And if I try to access data members or a section of a class from the main function, that is functions outside the class, it is something not allowed. So this is something called as data abstraction. I hope you have understood the concept. So it is the process of providing only essential details. That means these are the essential details which outside world should be knowing to make use of this class. Because if I don't provide this also, then this will be a completely closed box and it is useless. We cannot use it from outside the class. So the access is given to the members which are present in the public section, and most of the time we write the functions in the public section of a class. These functions in turn can have access to the private section of a class, that is nothing but what, data members. So we can make use of these data members even inside the main, but not directly, but through the member functions. So if something goes wrong over here in the value of the variable present in the private section, the responsibility comes on to the member function. So we can track very easily that some member function is handling the data in a wrong way and we should better correct it to get the expected result. And any changes or any attempts made over here from outside the class to make the changes in the private section are not allowed. They are restricted. So this is something called as data encapsulation as well as data abstraction. What do we mean by data encapsulation? It is the process by which we will bind the data as well as functions together inside one container. So this is something called as data encapsulation, the process by which we are binding the data as well as the functions which will operate on the data together inside one compartment. This is called as data encapsulation. And data abstraction is nothing but what? The process of providing only essential details to the outside world and hiding some important details to make them more secure. So this is a data abstraction. So I hope up till now you might have understood that how the class look likes, and if I define a class something like this, what really happens in my program. So this is what really happens. Actually, we will see this through the program also. Let us move on to the next concept, that is again related to the object, because only class is useless in a program. Unless we do not create object of that class, we cannot make use of that particular class. So next important thing is how to create object. So this is a very important question. So it is very simple thing. The object can be created by using a very simple syntax like this: class name space object name. So it is like a normal variable creation in C program. In place of class name, we write data type, and in case of object name, we write variable name. So in C++, we can create object of a class by just specifying class name space whatever name I wanted to give to the object, and this object name is going to be identifier. So you have to follow the rules of identifier. For example, consider the class rectangle, then its object can be created as follows. So I can write the syntax, or I can use the command like this: rectangle R1. So when I write this command inside my program, the question is where I should write it inside. Of course, it should be written inside the main. When I write it inside the main, I will get one variable created whose name will be R1, which is object of class rectangle. And then what this object R1 consists of? It will consist of copy of the data members, that is copy of variable L and copy of variable W. And it can have access to the public member functions input and area. So if somebody asks you to draw the object or visualize the object of a particular class, you can visualize it like this. So we can create the object for a class like this. Let us do it by using a program. So what I will do is I will take you to the programming window. So I hope my WC window will be visible to you. I will just add and write a new program where we will define a class, we will create the object, and we will make use of them. So most of you, or maybe some of you, have not written any program by using C++ up till now. So this may be the first time they are observing a C++ program, because in our engineering curriculum, in first year you have learned C language and you have written many programs in C. In second year you have learned Java language and you might have written many programs in Java, but the middle link C++ is missing. Unfortunately, it is not there as a part of the curriculum, so many students might not have written a program in C++. So this is going to be the first program for them, and it is going to be directly object-oriented program. So I hope that you might be aware of some commands and some keywords that are there in C++. Of course, all programming constructs like if else, else if ladder, switch case, break, continue, for, do while, whatever you have learned in C is equally applicable or usable in C++, except some functions like scanf and printf. So you might be knowing that printf is used for displaying something on the screen. I can display string on the screen by using printf function, or I can display the contents of variable by using printf. So in place of printf, we need to use cout, and scanf is used to read the values from the keyboard. In place of scanf, I have to use its alternative cin as a part of my C++ program. And rest all will remain same. So you know, in C or C++, the important thing is at the beginning we should include the required header files. So I will include a header file iostream.h. In C, you include header file stdio.h, that is standard input output. In C++, we need to include iostream.h, which will give me the definitions of cin and cout, right? So this is the first important change that the new people should take care of. So instead of stdio.h, you should write iostream.h. And if you are having this software with you on your computer, you can follow me. You can start typing the same commands at your own at your end, and we can check the output simultaneously. Then I will include another header file, that is conio.h, because I wanted to make use of the functions, that is clr, scr, and getch. Now, normally in a C++ program, we write void main and we start defining our main function. But in object-oriented C++ program, before this void main, we need to define a class. And as I already told you, class can be defined by using a keyword class like this. So when I type a word class, it appears in a white color. That means it's a keyword. I can give name to this class by writing a word rectangle. So I am defining a class a rectangle. Then inside this class, what we can have data members. We can have data members and we can have member functions. So data members are normally declared, data members are nothing but what variables that I wanted to use. They are normally declared in the private section of the class. And to start the private section of the class, I have to type a keyword private, and then I have to type colon. So then the question is, what are the variables that I should declare as the data members inside the class? To understand this, you should ask a question. The question is, who is the object for your program? So if you understand answer to this question, then you will be able to decide the data members. Data members are the variables which are sufficient to describe the object. That means they will be able to hold attributes of the object. Now these are very hard words. Now let us again come back and let us have a question. Write a object-oriented program to calculate area of a rectangle. So if I post this question, write an object-oriented program to calculate area of a rectangle. So to solve this question, you should really understand that who is the object in this. So according to you, what do you think? Who is the object? Can you post your answer on YouTube chat or YouTube comments? Who is the object? I'm not getting the object in the question. I repeat the question. Write object-oriented program to calculate area of rectangle. Nirav has said area is the object. Any other answer? Keep posting answers. Whatever you feel that this is the object in this particular program, you should type. Don't only listen to whatever I'm discussing. You should be interactive. You should be telling me that what is the thing that you are getting out of this. What happened to rest all? Sachin Pathak, yes, any variable which holds all the attributes defined in class. Yeah, that is the object. It is a theoretical thing. I am asking a question. In the program to calculate area of rectangle, who is going to be object? I am not getting answers. Nirav and Sachin, what others are doing? So we are not in a face-to-face session. Don't worry. I will not shout at you. You can type any answer that you like. So keep guessing, keep typing. Let it be right or wrong. I'm still waiting. Yeah, I am now finally getting correct answers. Very good. Tanisha, Samir, Karthik, Sadaf, Rishabh. Yes, a rectangle is the object. Rishabh even said rectangle R1 is the object. R1 is going to be the object. He has given name or variable created of the class Aditya Chavan. Yes. So fine. So that means you are alive, and not only I am alive or here in this session. So very good. So I can see the answers are coming. So fine. So yes, a rectangle is the object. Now the next question is, what is required to describe the object rectangle? What is sufficient to describe any rectangle? What are the things which are sufficient to describe rectangle? You keep posting your answers. I am watching. How do you describe a rectangle object? What is required to describe it? These are in fact called as attributes of the object rectangle. So still I am not getting any answer. Yes, finally I got the answer from Karthik. Thank you, Karthik. It's very correct. Very good. Length and breadth. Or Nirav also said length and width. Akanksha said data members. Yes, but data members is a very general answer. Specific to the rectangle objects. Yes, Sadaf said yes, length and breadth. Very good. Length and width, Shubham. Yes, thank you, Shubham. So fine. So you got it correctly. So length and width. So this will give me idea that what I should declare as the data members inside my class. So whenever you come to this point that I wanted to create a class, the first thing that you should be able to decide is what are the variables that I should declare as data members. So you all answered the question that yes, the object rectangle can be, and don't worry, it is confusion that class rectangle and I am saying object is also rectangle. So rectangle is a class which can create objects like R1, R2, R3, and R1, R2, R3 are nothing but what? Rectangles. So to describe R1 rectangle, what we need is to specify what is the length of that rectangle R1 and what is the width of the rectangle R1. So I will write, or I will create or declare variable float L, L for length, and W, W for width. So these two variables which I created or declared inside the private section, they are called as data members. Now, can we do the same exercise for some other example? If I ask you that I wanted to write object-oriented program to arrange list of students in descending order of their total marks. If this is the question, write object-oriented program to arrange list of students in descending order of their total marks. If this is the question, then again I will ask you all, who is the object in this question? Again, we will have this exercise. Can you write the answer? Post your answer in the comment section. We wanted to arrange the records of the students in descending order of their total marks. So who is going to be the object? Unless we do not do this exercise, unless the point is not clear, yes, student will be object and marks, it's a data member. Very good. Ganesh Muta. Ganesh, you are there. Happy to see you. You don't miss any lecture, I think. तेरा record तू बरकरार रख रहा है, whether it is face-to-face class session or online session. Right. Swapnil says student S1, very correct. Variable of type student, assuming student is the class. Aditya, very good. Yes. Then Neha, yes. Student, yes. Student S object. Reshma says marks and students. There is a bit confusion. Student is the object. Marks is going to be data member for that particular object. Omkar Jemse, biomedical, I think. Yes, you are also there. Good to see you. Student S1. S1 is the object. Very good. Yes. So I can see the answers coming. So that means you have understood the concept that the first thing that you should be able to decide is who is the object. And many of you understood that who is the object. And once you know who is the object, it is very easy for you to decide what are the variables required as the data members. For example, if I consider student S1 is the object, then what are the things required to describe that S1 student? Maybe name of a student, roll number of a student, maybe date of birth of the student, maybe marks obtained in the different subjects, and total marks. So these many data members are required when I consider student S1 as the object in my program. So basically, when somebody asks you to write an object-oriented program to understand who is object, you should ask the question for whom we are going to perform the operation. Now you should be able to understand calculating area is operation that we wanted to do, but for whom? It's a rectangle. So rectangle is the object. Second example, arranging the records in descending order of the total marks. This is operation we wanted to perform, but for whom? We wanted to do it for the student. So student is the object. Or if I ask you, write a program, object-oriented program to calculate the area and perimeter of a circle. So calculating area or calculating perimeter is the operation that I wanted to perform. For whom? That is circle. So circle is going to be the object for my program. And once I shortlist or once I understand who is the object, it is very easy for me to describe it by declaring data members. Like if circle is the object, I will declare a data member float radius. Or student is the object, I will declare data member that is character array name, then integer roll number, then integer marks in physics, marks in chemistry, marks in mathematics, then integer total marks. So these things will come after understanding the concept that who is object. Once you are able to decide who is object, it is very easy for you to decide the data members. I hope the concept is clear to all. So very good. We will go ahead. Now you should think of what is the operation we are expected to perform. That is also normally specified in the question or in the problem statement. So our problem statement is to calculate area of a rectangle. That means operation that I need to perform is to calculate area of a rectangle. And to perform that operation, we need to write a set of commands in form of a function, and that is going to be the member function in my program. Are you getting? So once you decide who are the data members, you can find out who are going to be the member functions in my class. These are nothing but the functions which will perform the expected operation as per the problem statement. So I may start writing a member function whose return type will be void and whose name is, let's say, area. Okay, but if I write it over here, then it will be considered as a part of private section, and then this area will not be accessible from main, which is outside the class. So before we start defining a function, we should make use of a keyword, let's say public. So when I write public colon, it indicates the start of a public section of my class. And then I can define a method or declare a method whose name is void area. When I terminate it like this is simply declaration of the function. And then when I write the set of commands or group of commands inside a pair of curly bracket, this is the body of a function. This total thing when I write inside the class, then this is called as defining a function. And then how to calculate area of a rectangle. Area of a rectangle can be calculated by simply multiplying length with a width L into W, and I wanted to display it to the user. So to display it to the user, we need to use cout, then 2 times less than symbol. Then I wanted to display some message to the user like this: area of rectangle is equal to. So this will appear as it is on the screen. Whatever I place inside the double quote, this will appear as it is inside the on the screen. Then again I will write less than symbol 2 times, and then I will write L into W, and I will use end L to end the line, so that whatever next message we are trying to display on the screen, which will come on next line. So this is the syntax in C++ to display something in the output. How it is different than C syntax? What is missing here, which is compulsory required in C language? So again, post your comments. I will be watching how this is different than whatever you have used in C. The command I have typed to display the output on the screen is cout. Then in double less than symbol, double quote, area of rectangle is equal to double quote complete. Then again less than L into W, and end L. How it is different than C? What is that which is present or required in a C command, not required over here? Of course, this is a very basic question, and you should be answering. I'm observing the comments. No answer up till now. Yes, Nihar Kohli comes into the picture. Format specifier, very good. Karthik Jondarekar is also saying format specifier, very good. So this is a very important thing, that C language requires format specifiers, because in C, printf function is basically designed to only string type of a data on the output screen. Yes, Shubham, you are so correct. Format specifier, very good. So format specifiers are important in C because the printf cannot display any other type of constants on the screen directly. They are required to be converted, and there we require format specifier. That is explicit use of format specifier, which is required in C, and it is not required in C++ because the cout function can directly display any type of data on the screen like this. So L into W is going to be a float value, and this float value will be displayed on the screen without making use of %f or something like this inside this double quote, which is required in C language. So format specifier is not required. Of course, we are not using printf, we are using cout, and \n also can be used, which we were using in C++. And in place of \n, that is escape sequence, even we can use endl. So I hope this sequence is clear, right? But then one thing is missing. I hope you understood the concept of a member function. I have written a member function which will perform the operation expected in the problem statement. So operation expected is to calculate area of rectangle, and I have written a function to do this. What is missing is how to place the values inside L and W. So now you have to understand the concept of object-oriented programming. For example, if I end my class over here, this is end of class, right? And then inside main, let's say CLR SCR, that is clear the screen. Can we directly say L is equal to 10 and let's say W is equal to 20? Let us write get ch to freeze the output and close the main. So if I try and do like this, assuming that L and W are already declared over here, L and W, Can I initialize L to value 10 and W to value 20 inside main? Will it work or not? Give your answer on the comment section. Will this work or it will not? Because if you answer this question, I will get answer to the question whether you have understood the concept that I explained, data abstraction or data hiding. Recall that slide which I have shown to you and tell me whether this will be allowed or not. I am trying to assign value 10 to L and 20 to W. Reshma Jadhav says no. Aditya Chavan says no. Very good. Any other answer? Yes, yes. कौन बोल रहा है? So it's already 12:14. So I think we are going very slow. No, Jaswin says no because no object of the class has been created. Very good. So I will take up this point also. Any other answer? Archie, yes, creative head says no. No, is it the same Archie from biomedical? I don't know. Shubham says no. Neha says no. Good. Nobody saying yes. And Jasmine raised a point that no object is created. This is not allowed. But even if I create object, will it be allowed? Let us check. Let us go back to our TurboSys screen. I hope now this is visible to you. If I compile my program, see, the compiler says there are two errors. It is not happy with whatever we are doing. It says undefined symbol L, undefined symbol W. That means what we have understood is if we try to access L and W from main, which is outside the class, it is not allowed. Private data members of a class are not allowed to be accessed outside the class. I hope you have understood the concept. Now, Jaswin, even if we create object, let us create the object. How to create the object? We need to write name of a class. The name of the class is rectangle, and let's say name of the object is R1. So, R1 is an object of a class rectangle. So we can create object of a class rectangle like this. Now, by using this object, can we access L and W? If I write R1.L is equal to 10, now this dot is member access operator. Whenever we wanted to access member of a class, it's a variable R1, then we have to use dot operator. You have understood this concept in structures. The field of a structure can be accessed by using this member access operator. Similar kind of a thing I am using over here. W can be, I can try and access W by writing R1.W is equal to 20. Now the question again comes, will this be allowed or not? So again, I am observing your answers on the comment section. So give me your answer, yes or no. Will this be allowed or not? I'm waiting for your answers. Omkar says no. Aditya says no. Yes, Jaswin, very good. Will not work because we cannot use R1.L to access length because it is a private member. So very good. Neha also says no. Sachin Pathak, hey man, what you are doing? He's saying yes. So you missed. I think you missed the explanation that I given in data abstraction, and I will take you back to that particular slide sometime later. You have to understand it is a private data member and it cannot be accessed from outside world. Do you remember that blue arrow coming with a cross on it? So you have to remember that private data member, they will not be accessible from outside the class. Nihar Kohli, yes, no, 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 it is not accessible. Very good. So let me again take you back to the program. So if I try to compile the program now, again the compiler will take the objection that rectangle colon colon L is not accessible, or rectangle colon colon W is not accessible. So the L and W are the members, data members of a class rectangle, and they are private data members. They are not accessible directly from outside the class. Now the question is, if this is the problem, then how do we initialize L and W? Because unless we do not initialize or keep some values in L and W, it is not possible to calculate area, right? So what we will do is we will have another member function which will allow me to store some values into the data members L and W. So let's declare a member function void input. So input is the name of the function that I am writing, and then this input function, I want it should read the values of length and width from the user, and it should keep it into LNW of the class or the object. So to do this, I will write cout first. I will ask the user enter length and width, right? So this will display the message enter length and width as it is to the user, and now user is expected to type two values which we will read by using scene command. Scene greater than the first value entered by the user I wanted to keep into the data member L, and second value entered by the user I wanted to keep inside the data member W. So I will write L and W like this, and I will close this member function. So now you can see I have written two member functions inside the class. One is void input, other is void area. These are member functions of a class. The operation function by this function is to just initialize object by loading values into LNW, and the operation performed by this area function is to calculate area of the rectangle. So I hope you have understood how to decide how to have the member functions inside the class. Now I have created object R1. Now when I create object R1, are you able to visualize what the object R1 will consist of? I have already shown you that diagram in my slide. Let me just switch to that presentation. So I hope this is visible to you. When I create object R1, what I will get inside that object R1 is the data member L, data member W, and this object R1 can have access to the member function input and member function area. Now I hope this diagram is clear to you what I mean by drawing this diagram in my presentation. So in the program, we have created the object R1, and it is clear to you that how the object R1 will look like. I think both the things will be visible to you now side by side. This window may be a little smaller, but anyways, you are able to observe both the things simultaneously. Now I wanted to read the values for L and W. So what I will do is I cannot access it directly by using object R1. I cannot say R1.L. We already tried it. It is not possible. But what I can do is I can write R1.input. So this will be considered as function call. This will call a function whose name is input, and is the input function accessible from main? You can look at input function is present over here. The question is, can we call input function like this? Is it possible? Is it accessible? Again, I am expecting answers from you in the comment section. Can we call input method like this? This is the question. Type your answer yes or no quickly in the comment section. Yes, it is accessible. Very good, very good, very good, very good. Many of you, Sneha, Shreya, Sachin Pathak, it is accessible. Very good. So you are getting the concept. Yes, it is accessible. So now let us again go back to our program. So it is very well accessible, right? So I will just enlarge my programming screen. So now after this input method will be called and it will initialize LNW with the user entered values. Now I wanted to calculate and display area of a rectangle R1. So for that I can say R1 dot area. So this happens to be again a function call. This time it will call a function whose name is area and the area function will do rest of the things. So this is how we can write our first simple object-oriented program to calculate area of rectangle. Now let us see the execution part of this program. So what I will do is I will execute it step by step so that you will understand all the calls and all the things that are happening in our program. So I will press F7 key. So it will compile my program. And you can see compilation is successful and it started execution at void main. So always a C or C++ program starts its execution at void main because main is going to be or considered to be entry point for the execution. After this, the object will be created. R1, it is present in the memory. Its appearance will be somewhat what I've drawn in my presentation. Then clear the screen. And now look, this is very important. When the command R1 dot input gets executed, what will happen? Main will be suspended and compiler will start execution of a function which we have called input. So it will start execution of a input function. So it will enter inside input, it will execute the cout command, it will execute cin command, and you can see when it executes cin command, computer is in waiting state, it is waiting for user input. So I can type some input values like let's say length is 10 and width is 5. After that I can press enter. Then again I will ask it to continue. So this will complete void input function. And now since input is over, the execution resumed inside main. Now we are trying to execute the next command r1 dot area. When I try and execute this, again you can see compiler will tell me this void and then after end of like get back to this calculated and so I think you have class inside program. So then how object and then make
Seems there is a technical problem that we issue. My dear friend, I request you to hold on and will be coming back. I mean, so,
Yeah, there is some network issue, I think. Again, I'm coming. I am back. Okay. Now again, there is a small quiz regarding the pace or speed of our discussion. So I just wanted to know rate this particular speed in three different categories, whether it is slow or it is sufficient as per requirement or it is very fast. Type your answers in the comment section. What do you feel? This is very slow, this is moderate, no problem, no issues, or this is very fast. Jinal says sufficient. Yes, good. Sufficient. Kavita says sufficient. Any other answer? Those who feel that this is very slow, they can also give a feedback. Nihar says sufficient. Because it really matters. See, otherwise, there is no point in conducting these kind of sessions. And these sessions are for the benefit of you student. And if you are not compatible with the speed or the pace with which I am going, then definitely you will not get benefited out of it. And my aim is that you should get maximum benefit out of whatever discussions we do over here. Yes, I am getting the answer. Shraddha, Mansi, Sneha, all are saying sufficient. So nobody is there who says slow, and nobody is there who says fast. That means I'm going with the correct speed. Of course, this will require more sessions because my plan is to finish at least uh, 12 sides in the today's session. But we are, I think, in the slide number 5 or 6. So I'm going slow as per me, but as per you, if it is sufficient, then I don't have any problem. Very good. So I will continue with the same pace. So let me take back you to the presentation. Right, I hope the presentation screen is visible to all. So just now we created object rectangle R1 and we understood how to make use of that object to calculate area of a rectangle R1. But what if I wanted to calculate a area of three different rectangles? So I am having rectangle R1, rectangle R2, and rectangle R3, and I wanted to calculate their areas. So every rectangle is going to be object in my program. So I should create three objects, R1, R2, and R3. Have you understood this particular command? I have created three different objects, R1, R2, and R3, which are going to be the object of the class rectangle. So I can write the command rectangle R1, R2, R3 like this. Right? Now, the question is, can you visualize R1? Can you visualize R2? Can you visualize R3? What they will consist of? So I will just show you. They will consist of this. So this is going to be R1, this is going to be R2, and this is going to be R3. And you can see all the three objects R1, R2, and R3, they will share the member functions. And every object will get a separate copy of data members. So have I declared L and W three times inside the class? No. I have declared L and W only once. But when I create multiple objects, every object will get a separate copy of L and W. Have you understood the concept or not? So this is a very important thing that that you should know. Let me take back you to the programming window like this. Okay, and now instead of only one object, I will create objects, let's say R2 as well as R3. So R1, R2, R3, all are the objects of the class rectangle, right? Now, when I say only input, is it possible to call the function by writing only input, the name of the function? That it is not possible. We cannot call the member function by writing only its name. If I compile this, this will give me error that function input should have a prototype. We cannot call function input by writing only its name. But can I say R1 dot input? Then yes, we can call the member function of a class by using object. This is possible. Now, when we call input, if you see this input function, these are the individual copies of the data members and common member function. When we see the definition of input function, you will see that we ask the user enter length and width, and then we said store the first number into L, second number in W. Now the question is, this L and W will be considered from which object? It will access L and W, there is no doubt about it. But of which object? Will it be accessing L and W of R1, L and W of R2, or L and W of R3? Because in input definition, we have not mentioned R1.L or R1.W. We have simply written L and W. And when I create three objects like this, like let us say R1, R2, and R3, we know there will be three copies, three different copies of L and W. So which copy of L and W will be accessed by the method input? This is a very important concept that you should understand. So whether it will access R1, R2, or R3. Do you have any idea about this? Can you answer that whose L and W will be accessed when I call method input or function input? It depends on which object you are using to call the method input. It's like this. So when I say R1 dot input, what will happen? The input method or input function will be able to access L and W of R1 method. L and W of R1 object, and L and W of R2 and R3 object will not be visible to it. Okay. Similarly, when I say R2 dot input, then for an input function, only R2 object will be visible. So it will be able to access L and W of only R2 object. It will not be able to access L and W of R1 or R3. Similarly, I can say R3 dot input. In this case, the L and W of R3 object will be accessible to the input function. R1 and R2 will not be accessible. Similar to this, I can calculate area of all the three different rectangles by calling like this R2 dot area. This will calculate area of rectangle R2, or I can say R3 dot area. This will calculate and display area of rectangle R3. So I can create multiple objects, but for every object, I will not get a separate copy of member function. You can see here all the three objects R1, R2 and R3 are going to share the same input method or same input function. Can we prove this? Of course, yes, we can prove. Let us run this program again stepwise so that you will understand where these three function calls takes you. So it will start again with main. It shows no error. I will ask it to continue, clear screen. Now R1 dot input. This is a function call. What do you think where it will take you? It will take you to the input function that we have written. It is asking me length and width. So let's say 10 and 20. Then it is saying R2 dot input. Where do you think it will take you again? It is taking you again to the same input function. So it is using the same input function to get the values of L and W. Question is, in which L and W these values will now go? The answer is very simple. They will go into the L and W of object R2 because we called this input this time by using object R2. So I will enter some values like 2 and 5 as length and width, right? Then again I will continue. I will say R3 dot input. This will again call an input function. Let us check where it will take you. Again, it is taking you to the same input function. And then again, it will ask the user enter length and width. This is again accessing L and W. Question is whose L and W? This will access L and W of object R3. So when we called input function by using R3 object, what will happen? R1 and R2 are invisible to that particular function. Only R3 will be visible. This is very important concept that you should learn. So I hope you understood this concept. Now let me take you to the presentation again. So what we did now, just now, we know object is a real world entity. When we create three objects R1, R2 and R3, so it is going to be like this. Every object gets separate copy of data members, like R1 is having a separate copy of L and W, R2 is having separate copy of L and W, R3 is also having separate copy of L and W. All object shares member functions of a class. Just now I have shown you member function input will be shared by R1, R2 as well as R3. And the most importantly, if a member function is called by using some object, then only that object will be visible. Others will be hidden. They will not be visible. So if we call member function input on R3 object like this, R3 dot input, then only R3 data members are accessible, whereas R1 and R2 are hidden. So there will not be any ambiguity to the input function. When we say R3 dot input can see only one copy of L and W, which is present in R3. So you need not have to explicitly write R1.L or R2.L or R3.L, because if I write like this, then the input function is meant for only that object, and that is not possible. Functions are required to be common. They should be commonly usable by all the objects. So inside the function, I cannot have object specific data member access. And the call to the function decides which object will be visible and whose data members will be accessible. Is this concept is clear? So these are two very fundamental concepts in object-oriented programming. That when we create many objects, what will happen? The first rule is every object will get separate copy of data members, but all the objects will share member functions. This is rule number one. Second rule, when we call any member function by using object, then only the data members of that object will be visible, accessible. Other objects are invisible. Is visible, R1 and R2 software. Then very exhaust student should you can have inline member function. You can have during this particular session, and you can see there are many types. So you should know characteristic of each and every type of member function and understand them very well through the programs. So I will try to write the program to make differences or to clearly understand or demonstrate these different types of member functions that I have listed over here. So to start with, we will go with the first two types of member functions, that is non-static member function and static member function. The two functions just now I have written in the previous program, rectangle program, they are non-static member functions. They are dependent on object. That means when you want to call them, you have to call them by using object name. You cannot call them without object. That means you cannot write only input as a function call. You cannot write only area as a function call. You have to write r1.area or r2.area or r1.input. That means they are dependent on object. They can be called only by using object name. Then can access all types of class members. So they are having access to private data members L, W. They are having access to other public data members present in the class. So they are having access to all types of class members, and they are in the scope of object and has access to this pointer. So what is this pointer? We will discuss very soon after some time. Whereas static member functions, their characteristic is different. They are independent of object. They are not in the scope of any object. They are not in the scope of any object. They are called by using class name. So if I say area is a static member function, then you cannot call it by using r1.area. You have to call it by using class name, rectangle, scope resolution operator, that is colon colon, and area. Then they cannot access non-static data members of a class. they cannot access non-static data members. This is very important. Other members are accessible. Non-static data members will not be accessible by using static member function, and they are in the scope of a class and does not have access to this pointer. So this pointer we will discuss very soon after some time. But by these points, I think something is clear in your mind that non-static member function and static member function, and they are not same, and there are some differences. Let us check through the example that what differences they actually has got. So I will write a new program, entirely new program, to demonstrate the difference between static and non-static. So let's have iostream.h. This is a demo program, so it doesn't really yield any useful output. It is just to check what is the difference between static and non-static. So I will write conio.h over here. Then let us have a class. Let's say name of this class is test. Let's have a private section of this class. In that, I will declare integer variable x, so which is a non-static data member of a class. This is non-static data member. And as well as I will write like this. Let's say static int y. So now y will be considered as static data member of a class. So what is static data member, how it is different than non-static, we will see later on. We are just discussing difference between static and non-static member functions first. So let us have one static and non-static data member present inside the class. Then I will write the public section. Inside the public section, I will write a member function int, let's say input, and this input member function will try to initialize x to 10 and y to 20, like this. And I will also try to have one static member function. So static member function can be defined by using a keyword static, like this. So not int input, sorry, it is not returning anything. I will write void input. So I will write here static void, let's say init is used for initialization. It will also try to initialize x to some value, let's say 5, and y to some value like 7, and then I will close the class. Now you can see what I have kept in my class. In my class, I am having two data members, x and y. X is non-static, y is static. And I am having two member functions, input and init. Input is non-static member function and init is static member function. We wanted to understand difference between these two, input and init function. So let us go to void main, and we will try to create the object of the class test. Let's say test t. I will write clr scr. Then I will try to access input function by writing t dot input, like this. And I will try to access init function also by writing t dot init, like this. Let's write get ch to reach the output and close this. So what I am trying to do is I am trying to call non-static member function input by using object, as well as I am trying to call static member function by using object. Let us compile our program. So when I compile it, I will get an error. Member x cannot be used without an object. And now you can see the location where we are trying to use or access member x. We are trying to access it in the static member function init. And the rule is static member function can access only static data members. So x is not a static data member. If you observe this very carefully, x is non-static. So x is non-static, therefore it is not accessible. So I am getting an error because of this. Since it is non-static, it is not accessible from static member function, that is init. So if I remove this particular command, if I make it a comment, and if I compile my program, then of course the compiler doesn't have any problem, because y is accessible. Why is accessible? Because y is static data member. So since y is static data member, it is accessible from static member function. But x is non-static data member, so it is not accessible from static member function. So have you understood this particular difference which I said over here, that uh, can access all types of data members? Because you can say in input I try to access x as well as y, both are accessible, there is no error. But in static member function cannot access non-static data members. Yes, x is not accessible because it is non-static, y is accessible because it is static, right? So I hope you have understood this difference very clearly. Now we tried to call the member function in init by using object name, but actually we should call it by using class name. So our class name is test, and we should use a scope resolution operator to call the method init. So uh, this non-static member function is called by using object because it is in the scope of object, but static member function will be called by using class name because it is in the scope of a class. Let us compile this program and let us have execution. When I run it, there will not be one problem, that untangible test y in module. uh, yes, so whenever we declare any static data member, we need to redeclare it outside the class and initialize it because it will be created only once. So what we need to do is this y is required to be declared again. I will write y, test is the name of the class, name of the variable is y, and I will initialize it to some value like 0. So I will compile this again and I will run this again. Now there will not be any error, it is not showing any output also, but I hope the point is clear, that what is the difference between static member function and non-static member function. Now this point which just now I have added is in fact the point which we should consider for taking a difference between non-static data member and static data member. So this difference we will be able to see, we will be discussing very soon. Okay, no option for Professor Mandar Sohoni sir. Oh, that is regarding feedback. Okay, let it be. So it is already 12:56, I think, and we reached up to static member functions. So now I need to discuss in detail about the difference between static and non-static data members. It will take around 10 minutes, I think. So what do you suggest? We are having a team. Sachin sir is there, Professor Sachin Deshpande, Amit sir is there, Professor Amit Ailani. They are moderators now. So what do they suggest?
So am I audible, sir? So I think the students, those who are attending, they are already charged up. Nothing wrong in continuing for 10 more minutes. Very interesting discussion going on, sir. Because and paradigm shift from
Hello.
sir,
Let
you can
me
continue.
let me
Yeah,
add
continue
you
for
to
10
the
minutes.
stream.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So very interesting discussion is going on. Because for students it is a paradigm shift. What I have emphasized upon is a function oriented concept, and now close to the real life, as we say, object orientation is an attempt to bridge a gap in between real life and the programming world. So very interesting, sir. Please continue for 10 minutes. Students appears to be already charged up. nothing wrong. Please continue, sir. Thank you.
Okay. So I will continue with the example. So this is where we reached. So if you see, I have declared integer variable x by using a keyword static, and I have declared integer variable y by using keyword static. So if I do like this, then x will be considered as non-static data member, and y will be considered as static, and both are of type int. Where does the actual difference comes? So it comes over here. What will happen if I create objects T1, T2, and T3? So if you see, I have created three different objects T1, T2, and T3. And now the difference is like this. When we create multiple objects of a class, then every object will get separate copy of non-static data members. That means T1 will have a separate copy of X, T2 will have separate copy of X, T3 will also have a separate copy of X. But they will not get separate copy of a static data member y. So there will not be three copies of y produced. No, y will be considered as class member, and only one copy of y will be created, and it is going to be shared by all the objects. So this is very important difference between non-static data member and static data member. So when we create multiple objects of a class, every object will get a separate copy of non-static data members, but they will get, or they will share, single copy of a static data member. So there will not be three copies of y, but there will be three copies of x. Can we prove it? We can prove it by let us change this input method little bit. Instead of initializing it to some constant value like 10 and 20, let me take the values from the user. I will write like this: enter two integers. So we are expecting two integers from the user. I will read them by using cin. The first value I will try to keep it inside x. Second value I will try to keep it inside y. And the question is whether both x and y are accessible from this method or from this function. Yes, because this is a non-static member function and it can access both static as well as non-static data member. I will write another member function which is also non-static, which is responsible for displaying the values of x and y. So in this, I will try to show value of x as well as I will try to show value of y. That will give you clear idea. I will write x is equal to, and I will display value of variable x. In the same line, I will write y is equal to, and I will try to display value of y, after which I will write endl. So for next output, it will go on next line. So I have defined very simple methods. One is input and other is show. Another requirement is that when we have a static data member inside a class, it is required to be redeclared again outside the class and initiate to some constant value. This is required. Now, now we declare variables like this, that is int y is equal to 0. So this will create a variable y and it will initialize it to value 0. But the problem is a C++ program can consist of multiple classes. Like there is a class test. I can have another class, let's say class in the private to operator y. This will give clear idea to the compiler that consider this y from class test and do not consider this y from class 2. So to avoid this particular ambiguity, this is not a useful class in our program that we are discussing, but to give you clear idea why it is required to write like this, that is class name scope resolution y. We need to write it because we wanted to resolve the naming conflict. Multiple classes can have static data member of same name, and that will create ambiguity. To avoid it, this is used. So whenever the classes consist of data members with same name, the class name helps to resolve the ambiguity. And just now we did it, that how to do it. So I will do that class, and I hope you understood why it is required to write test scope resolution operator y is equal to. The rule is, if I do not do this entire thing, if I do not do this entire thing, and if I compile my program, I will get error for this particular thing. That input undefined symbol t. That is not that problem. I will just go back. I will get t1 dot input, and since there is no init method, I will say t1 dot show, like this. I will try to compile, and I will try to run. So when I try to run, when I'm compiling, the compiler doesn't have any objection, but when I try to run, it says undefined symbol test dot test scope resolution y in module no name y. So it is absolutely necessary that if you are having static data member, you need to redefine it outside the class and initialize it, because the static data member will be created whenever the class is created. They will not be created every time the object is created. They will be created only once. Static data members will be created only once when the class is created, and therefore you can initialize them there itself whenever they are created by using this particular command. So if you don't write this, this will not be acceptable at runtime. Compiler may accept it, but runtime this is not acceptable. So it is giving me error. So I hope you understood why this is necessary. Now what I will try to do is, I will try to read the value for T1 object. I will try to read the value for T2 object by writing T2 dot input, and also I will try to read the values for T3 object by writing T3 dot input. So I have taken 3 inputs from the user. Then I will try to display T1. I will try to display T2 by writing T2 dot show, and I will try to display T3 by writing T3 dot show. Okay, now you will understand the concept that the non-static data members separate copy will be there, static data members single copy will be shared, like this. Now let us compile our program and we will run this. So when I run this, it will ask me enter 2 integers. Remember, this is for T1 object. I will enter integer values as 10 and 20. Then again it is asking enter 2 integers. Now remember, this is for T2. So for this I will enter 100 and 200. When I press enter, it will again ask enter 2 integers. Again, very clearly understand that this is going to be for T3. So I will enter 1000 and 2000. So ideally, when I display T1, what output I should get? X is equal to 10, Y is equal to 20. When I display T2, what output I should get? X is equal to 100, Y is equal to 200. When I display T3, what output I will get? X is equal to 1000, Y is equal to 2000. Can you guess, will that be the output of this program? Give me answer. What will be the output of this program? I have entered 3 set of values. According to you, what do you think? What will be the output? And yes, I can see considerable decrease in number of students because we are towards the end. It is already 108. So half of the students already gone. But those who are present, can you give me the answer? For T1, what value of X will be displayed and what value of Y will be displayed? You type your answer in the comment. I am waiting for your answers. What value of X and what value of Y I will get? This is the question which I asked. For object T1, what will be the value of X and what will be the value of Y? I have entered these inputs. So first line is the input for T1 object, second line is the input for T2 object, third line is the input for T3 object. Can you guess what will be X and Y for T1 object? To do it quickly, we are running out of time. We already crossed the limit of 1. It is 111. कोई नहीं है आंसर देने वाला. Where is Ganesh? Yeah, Ganesh. Kuldeep also answered. Kavita also answered. Oh my goodness. I got 3 answers. Answers from 3 students. Kuldeepak, Ganesh Dongre, and Kavita Vamse. Oh, one more answer I got. Omeshwari. Let me repeat. What is the thing or what is the point that I said? That when we create multiple objects of a class, every object will get separate copy of non-static data member. But all the objects will share single copy of static data member. ये जो पॉइंट है ये तुम्हारे दिमाग में घुसना चाहिए. तो you have to think by considering this particular point and give the answer. Again, I repeat, Reshma has answered, Nihar has answered. Again, I repeat, when we create multiple objects, then every object will get separate copy of non-static data member, but they will share single copy of static data member. So who is non-static data member in our class? It is X. Who is static data member in our class? It is Y. So T1, T2, T3, no doubt they will get three different copies of X. They can store three different values of X. But since Y is static data member, the compiler will not create three different copies of Y. Only single copy of Y will be created, and it will be shared by T1 as well as T2 as well as T3. So yes, Jasmine has given me the correct answer. The answer given by Jasmine is X is equal to 10 and Y is equal to 2000. Very good. So this is clear understanding. This answer is clear, right? So this is the answer given by Jasmine. X is equal to 10, Y is equal to 2000. Others also tried, and no problem if you are not able to get it right now, but you can try the same program at your home and you will get the correct answer. So I will go back there and I will try to complete the execution. So I am waiting to press enter key. When I press enter key, and now you observe, for T1, x will be equal to 10, y is equal to 2000. For T2, x is equal to 100, y is equal to 2000. And for T3, x is equal to 1000, y is equal to 2000. So in all the three objects, you can see it can have three different values for x, but all the three objects are having same value of y. Why so? Because when we say t1 dot input, x will get initialized to 10, y will get initialized to 20, but immediately after that we are saying t2 dot input, so x will get initialized to 100 and it is a separate copy, and y will get initialized to 200. This is not a separate copy, so it will override 20. And then when I write t3 dot input, x will get initialized to 1000. It is a separate copy because non-static data member. But y is a static data member. It will get initialized to 2000. Previously, it was consisting of 200 overwritten by 2000. I hope you have understood the concept. Right? So I have finished. Up to this, we have discussed the difference between static member function and non-static member function, as well as we have discussed about the difference between static and non-static data member. Many things are there for discussion, and I think we should stop here and hope that whatever discussion we did today is fruitful and you have understood something out of it. So your feedback is valuable. Whatever you feel about this particular session, do mention in the feedback, in the remarks or in the comment of that particular feedback. Of course, you can give a direct feedback over here also in the YouTube comment box, and the feedback form is also circulated to you. You can provide a feedback over there also. So today we will conclude our session over here. Tomorrow again we will resume with remaining type of member functions, because the understanding of that all type of member functions is very much required. The topics like inheritance, polymorphism, they can be cleared only through the types of member functions that I have mentioned over there, like function overloading will be compile time polymorphism, or function overriding will be runtime polymorphism. So it is absolutely necessary to understand these all types of functions. So I will hand over the things to our moderator, Deshpande sir.
Okay, sir, a very fruitful session. and I hope students are enjoying this. As you already have said, we mentioned that this C++ doesn't belongs and doesn't falls in their curriculum. So it is better if they focus on the C++ session. This is a personal request from my side. And then see technical difficulties sometimes. Okay, they are going to show their presence. But then, as far as the life skills are concerned, we believe that two important life skills. One happens to be in trust, and second happens to be in patience. Shraddha and Saburi. So it is not because of I'm wearing a turban, but then okay, believe me, these are the two very important life skills. And then you guys have exhibited it in the beautiful manner. So keep it up, guys. Tomorrow we'll meet and we'll be okay giving you lot and lot of things. Okay, and keep trying to address each and every query Mandar sir will be raising. Okay, and we'll be providing you some exercises also for you to work upon. Thank you, Mandar sir.
Correct. Okay, thanks. Thank you so much. Chalo, thank you, students, for coming. Tomorrow I will expect the same response from you. Bye.
Bye, bye, sir.